Okay, maybe we can get started. So today my pleasure to have Zhenting from Accenture to talk in our random example. And he's going to talk about his kind of line of recent works on advancing real-world long horizon using large language model agents. Zhenting is a researcher at Accenture, the Center for Advanced AI. He finished his PhD from Rutgers University, and he has been working on a lot of different research topics, including large language models, reinforcement learnings, agents, and so on. His work has been published in many top or leading machine learning conferences and other venues, and has been recognized by a lot of awards, including Spotlight highlights. So he also served as a co-organizer for data in generative models workshop at ICML last year. Today, Zhenting is going to talk about this recent work. And I guess even before we invited Zhenting, a lot of people, including myself and I think Ligo and Ishwar, we have been reading and discussing Zhenting's work. Today, so he's going to talk about, I guess, two topics, and please bear with me. I mean, I'm just going to give a very bad introduction based on my own understanding, and I'm sure Zhenting will do a much better job to talk about his own work. So bear with me. But I think as we use agents, I think there are two main issues. The first one is like you can get a high score in evaluation metrics, but when you deploy agents in real-world applications, their behavior is very different. And the second issue is context management and memory. As you want your agent to understand yourself, you want to manage your context so that it doesn't blow up your context, and still the agent can do self-evolving, can personalize to your own needs. And those are really two very hard issues that I guess for all of us, we've been using Cloud Code every day, and I think that's like two major issues, at least for me. And I guess Zhenting today is going to share with us his insight and his research advancement on those two topics. So without further ado, Zhenting, please take it away.
Yeah, thank you very much, Yigong's invitation and the introduction. So yeah, today I'm very excited here to share my recent insights and research about real-world long horizon tools in agents. Okay, thank you everyone. So it's just a very brief introduction. So yeah, everyone know like large language model is more and more popular, right? So it will like LLM agent will do a lot of work, so it will have a lot of market size. At the very beginning, right? So like the ChatGPT in 2023, so it's just a chatbot. So you ask, so you give a query, so like ask the ChatGPT to do something. So it's just a generate next token. Right? So what's beyond the chatbot? So the one advanced, one major milestone is the thinking model, right? So first we have the question. So after the reinforcement learning, maybe like O1, so the model will first try to do some reasoning, thinking, and then give the final answers. Like the aha moment in DeepSeek R1 will say, oh wait, I need to do some reflection and something like this. This is one milestone. But I think another milestone is like the tool using capability of the large language model, right? So if the large language model is enhanced and augmented by the tools, so it will for each round it will like first give a tool call and run the tool call and get the results of the tool call like as the environment feedback, and append this environment feedback to the context for next round execution, and then so do that again and again, so like react, right? So we have a while loop, and for each I mean iteration we have a tool call and get the tool call results. So like the ChatGPT 5, they already right. So have like the using the MCP, using something like this, so you can connect this LLM to some external APIs, external tools to enhance this large language model. While this, I mean, tool using LLM agents are more and more popular and practical, but there are still some challenges. So one thing is how to evaluate them in very realistic, complex tasks, like everyday tasks. And another thing is how to scaling this agent to long horizon tasks, because like Ligo mentioned, so we have the context window limitations. So even frontier models, they have like 1 million to 2 million context window limitation. But what if you ask the LLM to do a very long horizon task that require, like, for example, 10 hours execution to finish, right? So in this case, 1 million or 2 million context window is maybe also not enough. So how to scaling this agent to this kind of tasks is another question. So yeah, I think first we're gonna go to the first section. So how to evaluate this kind of tool using LLM agent in very realistic real world tasks. So for the evaluation, so one thing is that they have a lot of MCP servers, and a lot of these MCP servers are open sourced. So the open source MCP servers ecosystem can provide good results for us to do the evaluation. Right? So what is MCP? So MCP is like a protocol, right? So before the MCP, if you have different tools, they have different APIs, so you have different formats. So after the MCP, so although the different low-level API can be different, but like you can use the MCP to unify this interface to the LLM. So it's basically an interface. Yeah. So what we do is that, yeah. So first we have a lot of open source MCP, right, in GitHub. So for example, like you have the archive MCP, you have the Steam MCP, and you have the like NIH for like the medical research. You have the movie database for movie industry. You have Google Map for like the location wise, something like this, right? So we have a lot of MCP open source. We can collect this open source code and the description and the input-output schema of this open source MCP. So based on this open source results, we can use the LLM to synthesize this task. So yeah, I will introduce how to, the data task synthesis pipeline later. So yeah, but basically we have this like open source results, and we using the LLM to synthesize this kind of task, very realistic and very complicated task, and we like query this task to the LLM agent. And at the same time, the LLM agent are connected to some required MCP service, or some MCP service not required. So it will testing the LLM agent's capability to selecting the correct server. Right? So after that, after the synthesize the task is inputted to the LLM agent, and also the LLM agent is connected to different servers. So we ask the LLM agent to perform this kind of tasks, and we get the execution results and trajectory, right? And we have the rule-based metrics and LLM judge-based metrics to get the score, and we get the agent performance. Yeah. So MCP bench just connects the LLM agent to real-world MCP servers, and in total we have like more than 200. It's like 250 different APIs, 250 APIs, 200 different tools across different domains such as finance, science, and research, and the tasks generated by using LLM synthesizer, and each execution trajectory is evaluated by a combination of the rule-based checks and LLM judge scoring. Okay, and we focusing on the performance in like tool schema understanding, multi-hop planning, and the real-world adaptability. So, so the difference between the MCP bench and existing benchmark is that, so existing benchmark, they have like the BFCO, right? They have the tool bench, but however, so the benchmark like BFCO is API based. So the difference between the API based benchmark and MCP benchmark is that, so the MCP ecosystem, one MCP server is the combination of different APIs that can collaborate with each other. But for the API based, the API is isolated. So MCP servers is more nature to construct like the complicated task that you need to collaborate and combine different APIs, different tools to solve. So, and also there are some existing benchmarks, they don't like have the information grounding metrics. So one metrics in MCP benches you generated the trajectory, and we will use the LLM judge to evaluate. if all the, the statement by the agent is grounded by some tool using results. For example, we search something and then so in the statement you can use this kind of searched information because the searched information is grounded by the tool using, right? And also the tasks in MCP bench is fuzzy. For example, we didn't like explicitly say, oh, you needed to do like using this function A to do something. So the task is a little bit fuzzy and it's a little bit high level. So the agent needed to think about and infer the user's intention. And also the MCP tasking MCP bench is very complicated. So it's very complicated. So it can include massive goals. For example, you have 10, like 5 to 10 different sub goals, and I will show you the examples later. And also the MCP bench, the tasks. When we synthesize these tasks, we can combine different MCP servers. So we have the cross-domain orchestration. And this is the statistics about this benchmark. So yeah, we have the MCP servers, open source MCP servers from different domains. Like we have the finance, we have the software development, and we have the travel, like Google Map, we have the health care, and yeah, it's very diverse. And this is the two members distribution across different servers. Yeah, so you can see like for some MCP servers, they have a lot of tools, a lot of different tools, a lot of different APIs, and the different APIs can collaborate with each other to finish the very complicated tasks. So yeah, next I will introduce the definition of the dependency chain. So we say like the tool B is dependent on tool A. So if the input of the tool B relies on the output of the tool A, so this dependency chain can exist so inside the single MCP servers, or can like cross multiple MCP servers. So the example of the dependency chain is that, for example, you need to search some location first, right? And then you get the search results, and you need to use the tool like get location details. And after you get the location details, you get the positions, right? And then you can like get the direction from your current location to this location, right? This is dependency chain. So yeah, so because the get location details first, you need to use the for executing this API, you need to get the results of the search location, right? So and also to executing this get direction, you need to get the results of the get location details first, right? So it's a dependency. So how to synthesize these tasks in MCP servers? We basically based on like dependency chain analysis. So first of all, so given the descriptions and input-output schemas, and also the source code of the MCP servers, we input everything into a dependency chain discovery LLM. We prompt an LLM to discover the potential dependency chains, and also after that, so we use synthesized LLM based on the discover the dependency chain. We prompt another LLM to generate a very complicated tasks based on this dependency chain. So this so comparing to directly asking the LLM to generate a complicated task. So this is more grounded because it can guarantee that so the generated tasks have some dependency chain, right? It's more like reasonable and more complicated. So after the task is generated, so we have the automatic quality filtering. So basically, we prompt another judge to score in the if the task is solvable, right? And if the task is practical, and we get the score, and we like filter out the generated task with very low score. And also in the third step, so we generated a fuzzy version of the tasks. So yeah, so before the third step, so maybe the task is it's too details. Let's say inside the task, it will say, oh, you need to first call function A to get something. So it's just like the very detailed instructions. So it's not very realistic. So we use the fuzzing. So we use another LLM to like reformat and fuzzing the generated tasks. So the fuzzy tasks is we will hide this kind of very detailed instructions. Instead of this, we will rewrite this to a very high level fuzzy version. So the agent needs to think about and infer the so which kind of tools need be used, right? Infer the user intent. Yeah, so it basically transforms the very structured instructions into a natural language business and like business language request. Yeah, so this is the some examples generated by this pipeline. So the first one is that we the service like paper search, like by MCP. So you have the different useful tools inside these two MCPs. So like you have the get the archive, download the archive. You have get the different like variants, your different drug, different trail, right? So you have different yeah, so after this pipeline, so the task generator is like, oh, I'm working on some project about some disease, right? So and then I need to know something. So it's different. It have multiple sub goals, so it's very complicated. Yeah, so the second example is we use the Google Maps, we use the weather data, we use the national park. So they also have different very useful APIs like find parks, like so Google Maps information, so and also search nearby. So like the generated task is like, oh, I'm trying to plan a week-long hiking. So it's starts and ends in Denver. So we have a lot of constraints and also different dependencies, right? And like I'm hoping you can really give me some details. So first I want to go to some very best parks in Colorado, Utah, Wyoming. So it's also different constraints. Yeah, and also there are different dependencies because you need to first like find the parks, then get the park details. For example, then get the geolocations. I mean the location, and then like search nearby or something and get the place details. So yeah, so yeah, so it's have a lot of dependencies. Any question? Okay. So yeah, so this is the examples generated by MCP server data synthesis pipeline. So this is the agent loop we used. So it's basically a React loop. So it's for time step 0 to max time step. So we first have some thinking, right? Thinking, and then we execute. So we also have the compress here because in some case the two output is very long. It's like more than like 10,000 tokens. So if it's if it's very long, so we will use the LLM itself to compress this to output first, then aiding to the trajectory. So this is the discussion about important capabilities for tool using LLM agents and how MCP bench reflects them. Yeah, so first, so MCP bench evaluated the tool schema understanding and compliance. And we also evaluated the tool retrieval and selection capabilities because the task is fuzzy, right? And we also evaluated the long horizon planning and cross-server orchestration with massive goals because the task is very, very complicated and it combines different MCP servers. And we also evaluated the information grounding and evidence-based reasoning. So yeah, I will introduce the evaluation metrics later. Yeah, so here is the evaluation metrics. So we use a comprehensive evaluation framework, combines the role-based metrics and also the LLM judge scoring. So why we use the LLM judge scoring is that so some task is very complicated and it's more like a deep research tasks instead of for example, coding or math, so you have the ground truth answer. So for this kind of very complicated tasks, so getting the ground truth is so hard. So sometimes we needed to use the LLM judge to evaluate some perspectives. And also the for rule-based metrics, we use the rule-based metrics to evaluate the two schema understanding. For example, if the so the agent in each round, right? The agent will provide the tool call. So we will evaluate if the function name in the tool call is valid, if the schema is fitting the the input output schema provided, and if the runtime of this running this tool call is success. And for the LLM judge based evaluation, so we also like evaluate the different perspectives. using LLM judge. For example, the task completion, tool selection, and planning efficiency and effectiveness. Yep. So this is some results. Yeah, this is results. We run these experiments in last summer. I mean, summer 2025. So yeah, so now I mean, so they're because this field is too fast. So yeah, definitely now there are more. I mean, latest models were not included. So yeah, but this is the results in last summer. So at this time we can see like the OpenAI models super good at the tool using, and also Gemini cloud is also very good. So like the open source model like Llama, so it's not very good at this time. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, so here you can see more details about the the evaluation for the rule base. We have the if the tool name is valid, if the schema is compliant, if the runtime is success, and also for the LLM judge. So first we will use the LLM judge to judging if the task fulfillment is good, if the all of the information in the final report is grounded by the tool call. And also if the tool selection is good, if the parameter inputted into the tool call is accurate, and also like the planning effectiveness. This is a very interesting dimensions, because you can see like even like frontier models have a very bad score. So the dependency awareness is like we just mentioned, right? So if the tool call, so the order of the tool call follows the dependency. For example, you need to first use the tool A, then use the output of the tool A as the input of the tool B. So this like parallelism and efficiency is very quite new. It's proposed maybe in this paper first time. So the parallelism, that means, yeah, so for the dependency chain, right? So you need to use the tool A first, and then output, then use the output of the 2A as the input of the 2B. But so this is the case that they have the dependency chain. But for some time, so if you have multiple sub goals in this task, and also different sub goals, for example, they don't have the dependency. For example, you need to use the ABC at the same time, but ABC don't have the dependency. So at this time, so in the one round of the two calls, so you can call ABC simultaneously in parallel, right? Instead of call A first, then B, then C, right? Because for each round, you need to, the agent need to syncing first. It will waste a lot of the syncing tokens. But what if if the agent in each round, so after the syncing, it can like propose 3 tool calls in parallel and running these 3 tool calls simultaneously, so it will be much more efficient. So yeah, so we also evaluate in some case like some parallelism. If the some parallelism is possible, so we can evaluate using LLM judge to evaluate if the LLM agent, so they really using the parallelism strategy. But the observation is interesting. So the observation is that, so even for the very frontier model like O3, like GPT-5, so they have the very bad capabilities to running this kind of the tool called in parallel. So this maybe this is because in their training data, so in their training data, most of the the training tasks, so they just consider the the in sequence dependency, right? So in each round, maybe in their pre-training data or in their mid-training data, so they just provide the data. They just provide the trajectory that for each round they just call one tool. But however, so it can call multiple tools at the same time. Yeah, and this is the results from like we have the results on like single server setting. So single server setting, that means the task is generated by one server. And also we have the multiple server setting. So that means the task is generated by multiple servers, and you should like combine different MCP servers to solve these tasks. So we can see like for very small models, like you can see the gap between the single server setting and the multiple server setting. For example, in GOM 4.5, so if it's in the single server setting, so the overall score is like 0.86. So but however, if it's in the multiple server setting, so it's like 0.64. So it reduced like about 4%. But however, like very strong model like GPT-5, like O3, so you can see the score is, the delta of the score in different in single server setting and multiple server setting is similar. That means a stronger model is more robust to the cross-domain orchestration. Yeah. Any question about this MCP server?
I have a kind of maybe a clarification question.
Yeah, sure.
So I think I understand the rule-based evaluation. I also understand the second part of the language model judge, like the efficiency, like how you can run tools in parallel. But I think I'm still trying to understand the task completion and the task usage. Can you just elaborate a bit more on how you evaluate them using language model judge?
Yeah, so the task completion is that, so you have the trajectory and the final answer of the agent. So we input this trajectory and the final answer to and also the original task to a judge model. So we ask the judge model, oh, if the final answer is, fulfill the task. For example, in the task, we have different queries, we have different goals, right? So we can use the judge to evaluate if this kind of goals is achieved in the final solution.
I see. So it's not just the final output, so it's the entire trajectory.
Yes, entire trajectory. Yes, exactly. And also for the two usage, we also input the entire trajectory to the judge model and ask the judge model, oh, for each step, if the two selection is appropriate, and if the parameters input in the tools in each step is accurate, is good or not.
I see. Got it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so we have no more questions. We can maybe go to the second part. Okay, yeah. So let's go to the second.
One more question.
Yeah, sure.
So what's the difference between tool appropriateness and dependency awareness then?
Sorry, could you repeat?
So what's the difference between tool appropriateness and then dependency awareness?
Yeah, so tool appropriateness, that means that means for each step, if the dependency awareness is more like, so because we are based on this, for example, for the first step, we have the dependency chain. So for the dependency, it's more like focusing on if the order of the tool call is different, right? So first, so that means you need to call for example, 2A first, then 2B. So based on the dependency. So the appropriateness, that means so in some cases there is no dependency, right? So but the selection can be wrong. For example, you should use the 2C, but you use the 2D. But there is not like explicitly dependency. So dependency is more focusing on the order of different tool. Like if the order of the AB is wrong, like you use the 2B first, then 2A, so it's wrong. Or you use the 2B and 2A in parallel, so it's also wrong. So you must run the 2A parallel than the 2B. So this is the dependency awareness. So the two call appropriateness is like maybe you just select wrong tools, for example.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so maybe we can go to the next part. So the next part, I'm going to present our recent research about how to scaling long horizon AOM agents via the indexed experience memory. So the motivation of this is that so the long horizon task is more and more important, right? So like the you can like ask the agent to write down the very complicated repo from scratch. You can ask the AOM agent to do the deep research. And also, for example, the auto research, ask the AOM to run in some machine learning experiments to improve, for example, maybe the training of the AOM maybe also. Yeah, so for this kind of very complicated tasks, as we discussed, right? So for example, some of the tasks like auto research, it can spend the AOM several hours or like several weeks even. So in this case, like we have the fixed context window of the AOM, right? Like even the frontier models, they have the like 1 million or 2 million tokens as the limit of the context window. So how to bypass this context window is a question. And also during the interaction between the environment and using the tools in such kind of long run tasks, we will get a lot of very useful very useful experience, right? Very useful trajectory. So yeah, so if we just discarding or summarize this trajectory, so we will lose a lot of information. And also if we use this kind of trajectory or experience wisely, so so the agent will be, I mean, more and more experienced. It's like self-evolving. So existing method for long horizon tasks. So when the I mean the task can when the trajectory is very long, so it's approaching the context window limit. So the existing method is like the context truncation. For example, they have the like sliding window, right? The sliding window will discard all of the information, all of the trajectory before the sliding window, before some like threshold. And also another method is using the summarization. Like we use the cloud code every day. So the cloud code, they have a circle, right? So if the circle is full, so they will run the summarization. I mean, summarize all of the information to a very much shorter abstracts maybe. Yeah. So, but however, for both the truncation and the summarization, we lose a lot of information. We lose a lot of trajectory, right? Because both the truncation-based method and the summarization method is losing. So what we do is we don't want to lose the information, because some of the information, although like after the summarization, you get some like key point, you get some very important information. But however, at this point, you don't know which kind of information can also be very useful in the future. Right? So after the summarization, maybe some kind of information that is very useful for future usage is discarded. So what we do is we provide the agent two extra context management tools. The first is the compress experience. The second is the read experience. So first we have, for example, we have the system prompt and we have the user query. So yeah, so we have the thinking and the tool calling, and we get the tool call output, right? So we append this tool call output into this trajectory, and we do it again and again like React. So we get a very long trajectory. So in this very long trajectory, we have a large number of the token. And so yeah. So when this is very long, the agent field is very long, the agent will trying to call this compress experience. So after the compress experience, so yeah, so I want to highlight that just like other tools provided by the environment, so the agent itself can decide when to call the compress experience and the read experience, right? So after the compress experience, so the agent will like write down the index summary by itself. So what's new for the index summary is that instead of just summarize everything like cloud code, we also have an index. So like index, so we will say, oh, index A, so the description of the index A is something, and the full content of the index A will be stored in an external database. And also we have like, for example, index B, and we say, oh, description of index B as well. And then we like select we store the full content of the index B into a database. Select this. So the input of this complex experience function is the index summary, write down by the agent itself, and also the memory blocks write down by the agent itself. So the memory blocks is like, oh, the index A, the content A, so maybe it's the all of the message, all of the tokens in some in for example in the two output, and also for example and it can also be like the syncing tokens. So it can use a pointer, I mean the pointer of the message list to point to some, like for example the two output one. So yeah, so it will say, oh, index A is the I mean the, for example third message in the trajectory. So it won't, I mean, waste a lot of tokens. So and also it will summarize everything into an index summary. So different from the RAG, right? Because some people may say, oh, if you just use the RAG, so you can also do the retrieval, right? But however, though different from the RAG, we have the index here. So index is also write down by the agent itself. So everything is controlled by the agent itself. Because the RAG, you need to rely on another external retrieval module like cosine similarity to get the retrieval, right? But however, here, so we just use the index to get the very accurate, right? So it's 100% controlled by the agent, is accurate retrieval. Okay, so yeah, so after that, after the compress, so we still like running this directory. And when the agent feel, oh, I needed to get the detailed information of this description A, index A, so it will run, I mean, read experience. So it's the accurate retrieval from the external database here. Yeah, so this is the agent framework, agent loop of this method. Any question?
Yeah, I have a question, Zhenting.
Yeah.
I wonder, as you have more and more sessions, do you just append new information to your index list, or do you update, like keep on updating the existing index and their features?
Yeah. So it's a very good question. So actually, it can be updated. So we ask the LLM if you think for example, some index is useless in this, you think it can be deleted, so it will delete it. Because so this is the first round, right? First round, you get the index information, and then you're still running this directory, and after the second, so after that, so maybe for this directory, it can also be very long. It can also approaching the context window, so that will run the compress again. So in the compress again, so this kind of the index summary from the first round is also in the context. So the second round, so the agent will based on the first to the compress, I mean index summary from the previous round, it will adding something, adding the new context, and also it will deleting something that the agent thinks is useless.
Got it. I have another
Sure.
question.
Sure.
So I wonder, so you mentioned everything is controlled by the agent itself, but I wonder for the from an efficiency perspective, let's say you use RAG, you use retriever. So because it uses kind of embedding information, so retrieving relevant information is pretty easy, right? You just compute cosine similarity, for example, in the embedding space. But here, how do you retrieve the relevant index and the context? Do you just give all the external store to the agent and let it decide which items is relevant, or do you use some other way to retrieve?
So it's 100% controlled by the agent. So the agent will like after the compression, so agent is still running this task, right? So like this agent will thinking, oh, I lose the I lose the the details in the summary of the index A, right? So I needed to see more summary, to see more details of the index A. Then it will like directly run read experience of the index I, for example, index A, index B. So the 100% controlled by the agent. So the agent itself will decide which index can be retrieved. I mean, compared to the RAG, so first of all, RAG is not 100% accurate. Like, and also RAG, you need to run like top K, right? For example, when you're running something, maybe you will like retrieve 5 different parts, like top 5 or something. So it will also appending a lot of the tokens if you're using the RAG.
I see. So everything is like the agent will decide. So it's like, I see it. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So this is the agent.
I think Ishwar raised their hand. Can you just unmute yourself and ask the question?
Sorry, I just had one small question regarding the index. So from what I understood, this index memory is like ever growing, right? As you said, as more compressions happen, more items are added to this. I think in comparison to RAG, I was wondering like how scalable you found this to be, because based on how many indices are created, do you form any hierarchies to make this retrieval like scalable, or is this kind of a flat structure? Do you try anything, any different structures there for the index?
So currently we just we didn't use the tree structure in the index summary, so we just use a flattened structure. So so this is a very good question. So if for example, so if the task is very long, very comprehensive, very long horizon, right? So you like you will like appending the information and adding the information to the index summary again and again, right? So the index summary can also be very long. So at this time, so maybe we can transform this index summary to a tree structure. For example, the first level is something, it's like the index A is first level. So inside the index A, we also have the, for example, the next level, right? So for example, we have the level A is like index ABC. So the agent can just see the first level. So if the agent is more interested in the details, it can go inside the first level to get, I mean, the so it's yeah, it can be a tree structure, but currently we just have a flatten structure.
I see. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is the agent loop. So the difference here is that, so yeah, first of all, we have the task instruction, we have the we have a lot of tools, like we provide the complex experience, we have the read experience, and we have other tools provided by the environment. So it's the normal tools, right? So yeah, for each round, so we first ask the model to do the thinking, right? So it provide the thinking and provide the tool call. So yeah, if the tool call is the complex experience, then we like we will aiding this I mean the index and content proposed by the agent to the external database, and then we also will change all the trajectory into the M0. M0 is system prompt, U is the user task, and the index summary. I mean compress everything to something like this. And if the true is the read compress, and the agent provides which index, right? And we directly aiding this, retrieve this index and appending this to the message list. So yeah, but if the tool call is other tool call, it's normal tool call, so it's very normal, right? So we just executed these tool calls, we get the output, and we are appending this output to the message list. Yeah. And this is an example about running this compress. So yeah, so before the compression, so we have a message list, like M0 is a system prompt, U is a user task, it's ask the agent to do something. Like we have the T1 is the reasoning for the first step. For example, T2, O1 is the the two output for first step, and we have the T2, O2, T3, O3. We have a multiple round, right? Okay, so this is before the compression. So after compression, yeah, before the compression, the message list is like M0U, T1O1, T2O2 is something like this. But for each, for each T1, it's like the thinking, you have the several hundred tokens. And for the two output, we also have several hundred tokens. But however, after the compression, so all of the trajectory list will becoming, the M0U, M0 system prompt. We cannot compress system prompt, right? And we cannot compress the user query because there's some information, some information, right? And we, we transform all of the like OITI to the index summary. So the index summary is like, so the current state is next. I needed to do something select the next future plan, and also index map. So the index A, like CTX report map 001 is the index A, and this is description of the index A. Like index B is the description of the index B. But however, the detailed content about this index A is stored in the external database, right? Yeah, so this is the agent loop. So, but however, if we directly using this agent loop to the so the performance is very bad. So because in the pre-training and in the mid-training in SFT and also in their post-training, right? So they never see this. The LLM agent never see this framework, never see this compressed experience and read experience tools before. So what we do is that we needed to use the reinforcement learning to training this agent again and to making this agent more familiar with this kind of the tool call and the memory management framework and to enhance the performance. So this is our reward design. So the reward design, first we have the base task reward, right? So so besides the base task reward, we have some penalties. So the first one is the context overflow penalties. So let's say the context window, for example, it can be larger, right? Let's say if I have a model that have the context window, let's say 32K, right? We have the 32K context window, but however, I don't want the context approaching the context window. So I can say we can set a like threshold for the context. Let's say it's 8K. So we can set a threshold significantly lower than the original model context window size. Let's say for a 32K context window model, we can set like 8K or 6K, and so during the trajectory, if the peak context length is larger than your threshold, let's say larger than 8K, so the model will get the penalty. Okay, so these two call redundancy penalties, we will penalize the repeated two call to using behavior after compression. So for some model, if you didn't use these penalties, for example, especially for the searching agent, so it first search something, and then it's running the compressed experiments. It compresses the search results. But however, after the compress, so you can just retrieve this search results, right? So it's more efficient. But however, some agents to do the search again, so to waste the experience. So we will penalize this kind of behavior. So and also we have the two call format penalty. So this is because the input schema for the complex experiences is a very complicated JSON. So for like some model is I mean it's very hard to, for example, it can easily broken this format. So we will also have some two call format penalty to help the learning more smooth. And the algorithm we use is simply GLPO. So we have the different final reward for different trajectory inside one rollout group. So inside one rollout group, we calculate the average and the standard deviation. We get the advantage, and after we get the advantage, we calculate like PPO loss. Yeah, and we also use the KO divergence. Okay, so one challenge is that, so after the two call compression, so the prefix of the trajectory changes. So this is because when we training this model, right, when we run the RL, so we get the reward for the trajectory, and for the GLPO, so the entire trajectory share the same reward, share the same advantage, and they share the same, so when we calculating the loss function for each token, right, we first get the advantage, and we also use so because it's an autoregressive model, so the probability of the next token is dependent on the prefix, right? But however, if the prefix changes, so we cannot calculate the loss for each tokens together, right? Because, for example, before the compression the prefix is like this, but however, after the compression, after the compression, so the prefix changes. The prefix is from the original trajectory to become the index summary. So the prefix changes. So we need to split this trajectory into two segments. But however, so we can still use the same reward, the same advantage for these two segments because it's still in the same trajectory. Right. So we handle this by splitting this trajectory into multiple segments. The different segments share the same reward and advantages. But yeah, for sure, we need in the future we need to have some improvements on the credit assignments, because maybe like for different segments the credit assignments can be different. Yeah. Any question for this part? Okay. Yeah. Good. So this is the results. So we use 30B MOE model, like Queen3 30B. And the environment we used here is a modified version of ALF word, but we do some modification to make the memory necessary here. So this is the so here the first figure is the x-axis is the raw step, and the y-axis is the base task success rate. So we can see like during the RL, so the base task success rate is increasing, right? And however, and also like for the second figure, so the y-axis is the total penalty. So we can also see like during the training, the penalty is lower and lower. And this is the results. So yeah, before the mimics RL, so the task success rate is just like 20 something. After that, we have the 80 something. And also this is the peak working context length. So yeah, we can see like our threshold in the training is 8,000, right? So after training is 9,000 something is close to the threshold. But before, so it's like 16, so 17,000 is nearly. So we significantly reduce the peak working context after the training. So here we can see some very interesting model behavior. So yeah, so during the training, right? So at first they have a more compressed count. So the model will compress more, but after the training, so maybe the quality of the compression, quality of the index number is higher and higher, so the model will do smaller and do less compression. And also, so this is the read experience to call during the training. So before the training, maybe it's like just a 2 times retrieval, but within the training, so the retrieval will be more and more retrieval. I mean, the model will tend to retrieve more after the training. Yeah. Any question? Yeah. I think that's all for my presentation today. And thank you so much. Any question? I'm happy to hear to take any question.
You can thank. Yeah, Ishwar, please unmute yourself and ask.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you. First of all, thank you for presenting. Like, this was very interesting. I think I was curious about the results, the experiment setting for the evaluation for this one.
Sure.
I think in my understanding that we need to train because the specific tools for compression and reading of the memories is quite new, as you said, to the models. So that is very specific formats that needs training. I was wondering, like, were these like for this benchmark that you were evaluating against for ALF world setting, was the training samples also based on this benchmark, or was it on it? Because I guess my curiosity is around, if we were trying to learn the format of the tools, would it also be possible to train on variety of different experiences and not on this specific domain, but so that gives the model only the context about the tool but not about specific domain, just for like the result being more accurate here?
Yeah, very good question. So so the training data, so training environment is also AL4, and here the evaluation environment is also the same. But however, we also do some experience, for example, evaluating the model trained on AL4, but evaluate on like Broscamp, like deeper research. I mean the deeper research benchmark. And then we also see some improvement on deeper research tasks when we train the model on AL4. So that means so the training, so this kind of training is more like teaching the agent how to using these memory management tools, like compressed tools and the reading tools, and if the model can run the capabilities, I mean, to getting the capabilities of using these tools, it can generalize to different environment. But for other different environments, that is different to the training environment. I mean, the improvement is not very significant. However, for example, in Bros campus is only like 4%. I mean, improvement on base task success rate. But however, there's still like significant improvement on like the peak contact window length.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. I think I was curious about the training. The one slide that you discussed about sharing the reward for the two sets of the original trajectory and the prefix difference in the compressed trajectory. Could you explain this once again? Maybe I just didn't fully get it, but how did you share the reward for this? Because you were right that the prefix would be different in the compressed trajectory. How did the credit attribution work out here?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, so when we running this, mimics agent loop when we're running this mimics agent loop to finishing this task, we can have multiple, compression, right? So after the task is completed, so we have for example, they have verified reward. So in the AOF world, they have the verified reward to, compare. So if the final answer is exactly matching to the ground truth, right? After that, we have the reward for the whole trajectory, right? But well, we have the reward for the whole trajectory, and we have in GRPO we have the rollout group. So for one rollout, maybe we can one prompt we got 8 times, and we got the 8 reward for each trajectory, and for each trajectory we get the advantage based on the GRPO rollout advantage, right? But however, so yeah, so if the if it is in the standard GRPO, so we just have the one trajectory, one segment, one trajectory, and we can calculate the loss for each tokens by using their prefix, right? Because for the autoregressive model, if when you're calculating the loss function for each tokens, it's depending on the prefix. So the prefix is the different part here. So because after the compression, so the prefix of each token can be different. So that means, so this is why we needed to split this structure into different parts, different segments. But however, different segments is still belong to the same trajectory actually, right? So we can use the same trajectory, same advantage, same reward, same advantage in the loss function calculation. Is that clear for you?
Right. So if I understood it, maybe it is that there are multiple samples, but representing the same trajectory, like the same completion of the task, but then they look different because one is the fully rolled out version and the other one is the compressed version, and they both share the same reward values because the final reward calculation is the same for them. Is that roughly?
Yeah, so it's not like a multiple example. It's still the same example. It's still the one example. So yeah,
Right.
so let's say I have, for example, I have the system prompt user query and thinking like here. So if I, for example, after the 3 round, right, after the 2 output 3, I got the 2 compression. I running the 2 compression, and then so I will have something like their index summary, and then I will running from here, like for example, 2 output 4, 2 output 4, 2 output 5. Thinking 5, thinking 4, thinking 4 and 2 calling 4 and 2 output 4, and like thinking 5, 2 calling 5 and 2 output 5. So like here from system prompt to output 3 is this first segment, and from the system prompt user query index summary, thinking and 2 output 4, thinking and 2 calling 4, 2 output 4, thinking and 2 calling 5, 2 output 5 is the second segment, right? And maybe after 2 output 5, I running the experience, I running the compress again. So then I will have the system prompt, user query, index summary, thinking and calling 5, 6, 2 output 6, thinking and calling 7, 2 output 7. So this is third segment. So all of these segments belong to the same sample, belong to the same trajectory. But however, for each segment, so their prefix is different when we calculate the loss function for each token. So this is why we needed to have the different segments. But they still the same sample, it's still the same trajectory. So they still have the same advantage.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. Yeah, now I get it.
Thank you. Yeah, any question?
Any other question?
I think we're right on time. Yeah, thank you again, Zhenting. Very nice work. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Igor. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm very happy to here to share my work. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you.
But
Bye bye. Thank you.